Today, we'll be ranking the top 30 strongest characters in the world of Bleach. And yeah, no matter how we do this, we're bound to have some people disagreeing with us. Okay, so here it goes. We'll begin with some of the most underrated characters in the show, and by the end of the video, we will rank some of the most controversial battles the Bleach fandom has been arguing about for years. Are you Team Yamamoto or Team Aizen? Are you Team Aizen or Team Ichigo? Are you Team Ulquiorra or Team Stark? Let's find out if by the end of the video, we can change your mind about some rankings. Okay, let's begin with probably one of the most controversial topics that each Bleach fan has at least wondered at some point. Who are the strongest Espada? I mean, in terms of rank, Stark should be the strongest, right? But wait, Yami's final transformation ranked him as Espada number 0, aka higher than Stark. But Stark felt stronger than Yami's final transformation, right? But then again, Byakuya also felt stronger than Stark when we saw him in battle, despite being Espada number 2 and Stark being Espada number 1. Plus, don't even get me started on Ulquiorra's Vasto Lorda form against Ichigo. I mean, remember, not even Aizen was aware of this transformation, meaning that if Ulquiorra revealed this to other people, including Aizen, his rank would definitely be higher, potentially even number 1. And did you think that this was enough of a headache as is? You've got no idea. Among those 4 characters we mentioned, where should we place Tosen? So in our mind, we have 5 characters and only 2 of them can fit in the top 30 strongest characters in Bleach. So which of them should we choose? Well, I know that's too big of a struggle, and no matter what I did, I had to go back to read the manga in order to come to a conclusion. Yeah, I am indeed a big-time comic and novel reader, which is why before I reveal my choice for the strongest Bleach characters, I need to recommend a novel that, knowing you will enjoy. Trust me on this one. Read The First Legendary Beastmaster. I did, and well, this novel has literally everything. Magic, beast taming, and a hero's journey like no other. The story follows Carl, a young boy from a poor family who dreams of rising to greatness through an elite magic competition. Carl has one shot at success through an elite recruitment event where students undergo a magical awakening. And as you can guess, only a few become the nation's powerful, revered as elite, while the rest return to their hard lives. Amid looming human and monstrous threats, Carl uncovers a rare power and sets out to become the world's first legendary beastmaster, navigating trials in a world on the brink of conflict. Packed with magical creatures, intense battles, and an inspiring journey from youth to adulthood, this story is both thrilling and uplifting. Richly detailed fantasy worlds, dynamic creatures, and action-driven scenes will keep you at the edge of your seats throughout your read. Want to dive in? Here's how to read it. Use my link in the description down below to download web novel for free and start this epic reading today. Once you do that, search for The First Legendary Beastmaster and join the community of readers enjoying the latest in fantasy storytelling. And do you want to hear the best part? Web novel offers both novels and comics, so there's something for everyone. Thanks to Web Novel for sponsoring today's video. Download now and let's explore these magical worlds together. But now, let's get back to our video. Back to our dilemma on which 2 of these 5 characters we should choose for top 30 characters in Bleach. Here's how I would rank them. I would leave outside Yami, Byakuya, and Tosen and give the 2 positions I have to Stark and Ulquiorra. But why would I place those 2 higher than the others? Well, for Stark, since he's the number 1 Espada, despite not feeling that much stronger than Byakuya, since everyone already knew the full extent of their power and still chose this ranking, then I think it's fair to have Stark above Byakuya. When it comes to Stark versus Yami, well, yeah, Yami's final form was Espada 0, but I do feel like that was more of a plot thing to give Zaraki and Byakuya another fight against an Espada. In reality, Yami did not really feel like Espada 0. At least that's the way I see it. And for Tosen versus Yami, well, this is very speculative, but I think Stark does scale higher than him. And now for Ulquiorra. Well, in my eyes, since Ulquiorra's final Vasto Lorda form was not known to even Aizen, I do think that in reality, he would either be Espada 1 or Espada 2 in the very least, and as a result, deserves a spot in the top 30 strongest Bleach characters. And with that in mind, let's briefly explain each of these 2 characters, give their ranking, and then proceed with the rest of the characters in our list. But before that, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and let's keep going. Number 30, Coyote Stark, the Espada number 1.
Sorry, but I'm number 1.
You see, Stark's strength lies in his spiritual pressure control and his twin pistols, which he forms by splitting his soul into 2 beings, himself and his partner Lilinette. When he fires, each shot is like a condensed blast of his spiritual energy, making it ridiculously hard to dodge. And he's not just firing 1 or 2 shots, he can unleash a full-on barrage, overwhelming his enemies through sheer volume alone. But Stark's strength goes beyond firepower. When he goes into Resurrección form, he gains Los Lobos, which lets him summon spiritual wolves to hunt down his his enemies. And these wolves, they explode on impact. So think of it like having an army of kamikaze wolves at your command. Yeah, terrifying. However, Stark's biggest limitation is his own personality. He's so disinterested in fighting that he rarely goes all out. And when he does get serious, he lacks the ruthlessness to finish the job, which is why we don't rank him higher in our list. Number 29, Ulquiorra Cypher, the Hidden Espada. The form we are considering for him is his Resurrección. Ulquiorra's Resurrección gives him a dark, bat-like form that ups his power and speed significantly. He's got Lanza del Relámpago, a green javelin of spiritual energy that, when thrown, creates massive explosions on impact. And trust me, you do not want to be anywhere near that thing when it lands. But if you thought that was all, think again. Ulquiorra is the only Espada with a second Resurrección form, Segunda Etapa. In this state, he becomes a whole different beast. Longer horns, darker aura, and the power to fire black Ceroblasts that are practically nuclear. And this second Resurrección form is exactly the reason why we place him higher than even Stark. I mean, he forced Ichigo to tap into his inner hollow just to keep up. And even then, Ichigo barely scraped by. Number 28, Bazz-B, the Fiery Quincy. Bazz-B is the guy who doesn't need a lighter because, well, he is one. Known as the Heat, he's all about flames and can incinerate opponents with a flick of his finger. His signature ability, Burner Finger, goes from 1 finger to 4, each level escalating the heat and destruction he brings. And trust me, when he gets to Burner Finger 4, it's a lot more intense than the name implies. Now, hear me out. Bazz-B may have had the raw firepower to keep up with some serious opponents, but against the monsters at the top of the list, he's just a candle in the wind. Yeah, I know this guy fought Yhwach Hashfeld, Yohaba's right-hand man, and didn't back down, even though in the end, he did lose to him. Number 27, Sajin Komamura. Komamura's Benkai, Kokujo Tengen Myo, summons a giant armored warrior that mirrors his movements, allowing him to unleash titanic strikes. Plus, Komamura's true power lies in his unshakable loyalty and will to fight. During the 1,000-year Blood War, he used the humanification technique, transforming himself into an immortal being and sacrificing his humanity for greater strength. He faced Bambietta Bastarbine, a Quincy with explosive powers, and managed to defeat her in one of the most intense battles, despite the tragic toll it took on him. The form we are considering here is his humanified version, and thus why Komamura is placed in the top 30 strongest characters in Bleach. Number 26, Mayuri Kurotsuchi. Okay, I'll admit, this guy's abilities are more like creepy science experiments than actual fighting techniques. His Benkai, Konjiki Ashisogi Jiso, summons a giant baby-like caterpillar that spreads deadly poison. But don't think he's just some weirdo with test tubes.
Who's a weirdo?
Mayuri is a master manipulator of science, genetics, and biology. He's modified himself so many times, he's practically a walking lab. And don't even get me started on his countermeasures for enemies. Mayuri's battle against Pernita, the Quincy nerve manipulator, displayed his brilliance and resourcefulness. By continually adapting to Pernita's attacks and even modifying his body, Mayuri ultimately outwitted his opponent, even if that happened with the help of Nimu's sacrifice. Number 25, Hirako Shinji. His Zenpakuto, Sakanade, flips his opponent's world upside down. Literally, if you thought fighting a sword master was hard, try doing it while every direction, sense, and instinct is flipped. Now, you'd think this would be an ultimate technique, right? Not exactly. See, Sakanade is brilliant against opponents who rely heavily on precision, but it doesn't add much power. When Shinji faced Aizen, the disorientation trick didn't cut it against someone with a strong enough mind. He's clever, no doubt, and his battle IQ is impressive, but there's a ceiling to how far disorientation can get you. Still, Shinji's clash with Aizen showed how devastating Sakanade can be, but Aizen's immense power ultimately overpowered Shinji's illusion tricks. Despite the loss, Shinji's abilities make him one of the most difficult captains to combat head-on. Number 24, Retsu Unohana. You probably know her as the soft-spoken healer, but let's get real here. Unohana's one of the most terrifying creatures in Bleach. Her Benkai, Minazuki, is as mysterious as it is deadly, with the power to liquefy and reform. Her Benkai is a bloody, nightmarish technique that reflects her violent past. Unohana's strength isn't just in her Benkai, though. Her experience as the first Kenpachi means she's a master of combat, with enough battle instincts to put even the most seasoned warriors to shame. She's the one who taught Zaraki Kenpachi how to fight, and if that doesn't scream powerhouse, I don't know what does. But there's a reason she's not higher. Unohana's skills, while phenomenal, are more grounded in one-on-one combat rather than wide-scale destruction or reality-bending abilities. She's a swordsmaster and a healer, not a world-ender. So yeah, she's terrifying, but even she has her limits. Number 23, Kuchiki Byakuya. This guy is the epitome of elegance and power combined. His Benkai, Senbonsakura Kageyoshi, shatters his sword into thousands of tiny, razor-sharp petals that he controls with just a thought. Imagine facing a literal storm of slicing cherry blossoms. Yeah, good luck dodging that. Byakuya Byakuya's power is in his versatility. His Benkai can be defensive, offensive, and just plain overwhelming. And don't even think about getting cocky, because this guy's also got Hakuda, Hito, and insane speed to back it up. He's a true all-rounder. But if you wondered how he's not placed higher, well, here's the thing. Byakuya's abilities, while flexible, aren't exactly world-shattering. He's a master, but his skills don't break the boundaries of Soul Society's top fighters. Even his full power doesn't stand up to those with near godlike abilities. Number 22, Yoruichi Shihoin, known as the Flash Goddess. Yoruichi Shunpo, or Flash Step, is so fast it actually makes her one of the fastest characters in the series. And that's not all. She's got her Shunko, which combines Hakuda with Kido, allowing her to generate raw energy and go into full-on battle mode. She's a one-woman army of speed and precision. What makes Yoruichi a bit of a wild card is her ability to transform into a cat. Yeah, it's a bit of a meme, but it actually shows her level of skill and control over her own form. Plus her final form, Thunder God, well, let's say it's deadly at the very least, no matter how you look at it. Number 21, Gremi Thumo. His power is imagination. If he can picture it, it becomes reality. Yeah, that's right. He's basically a one-man fantasy generator. He can make lava, weapons, clones, even outer space appear out of nowhere. This kid's imagination is only limited by, well, his own imagination. But here's the catch. Gremi's weakness is his lack of experience. He gets overconfident and sloppy, often creating things that backfire on him. When he fought Kenpachi, he actually ended up killing himself by trying to imagine his body as powerful as Kenpachi's. And let's just say his mind couldn't handle it. So yeah, Gremi's got some insane potential, but his lack of control means he's his own worst enemy. Number 20, Pernita Parkinjes. Also known as the left arm of the Soul King, Pernita's strength lies in his ability to manipulate nerves. His ability, the Compulsory, lets him control anything with a nervous system, including living beings and even opponents' bodies. Imagine trying to punch him only to have your own arm twisted against you. Yeah, it's a nightmare. What makes Pernita even scarier, though, is his evolution. When he absorbs information, he learns and adapts, meaning he becomes stronger and harder to beat the longer he fights. Plus, he can regenerate by splitting himself, which is as freaky as it sounds. Slice him up and he just multiplies. But Pernita's powers come at a cost. He's extremely unstable and vulnerable to techniques that disrupt his control, which is why Mayuri, with the help of Mimu, managed to eventually defeat him. Number 19, Hitsugaya Toshiro. Here we should probably specify the version we're considering for him, and this is none other than his full adult prime form during the 1,000-year Blood War arc. Even while in base form, his Zanpakuto Hyorimaru is an ice-type blade that lets him create ice dragons, walls, and anything else that can freeze his enemies in their tracks. But the real kicker, in his mature adult form, Hitsugaya's powers reach new heights, allowing him to freeze anything within his field, including intangible objects. Imagine facing an ice storm that not only stops you, but can also freeze time itself. Pretty terrifying, right? However, despite his immense potential, Hitsugaya is still mastering his powers. His mature form isn't permanent, and his control over Hyorimaru can be inconsistent. He's a powerhouse, but compared to characters with absolute mastery over their abilities, Hitsugaya is still a growing force. That said, this is the reason we're not placing him higher on our list. Number 18, Kiryu Hikifune. Her strength comes from her ability to manipulate life energy, particularly by using her food creations to enhance or weaken others. Her ability allows her to create life-giving meals that bolster her allies, while she herself has the power to modify her body at will, making her stronger or more resilient. Kiryu's biggest ace, though, is her Tree of Life technique, which lets her draw on the full potential of her life energy to fuel insane feats of strength and resilience. While she's indeed incredibly strong, her abilities aren't primarily offensive. She's more of a support powerhouse, strengthening her abilities or manipulating their conditions for maximum effectiveness. Against certain enemies, her life energy manipulation is invaluable, but in terms of raw firepower, she doesn't quite match up to the top-ranking monsters on this list. Number 17, Tenjiro Kirinji, known as the Hot Spring Demon. Tenjiro has the unique ability to heal with his Raryoku-infused hot springs. These aren't your average healing baths, though. Tenjiro's hot springs are intense enough to draw out all impurities from the body and accelerate healing like a steroid injection with a spa twist. Tenjiro's strength lies in his agility and speed. He's not just fast, he's a blur on the battlefield, making him a hard target to hit. And with his hot spring healing powers, he can recover from injuries on the fly, making him hard to put down permanently. However, Tenjiro's abilities are more suited to quick, precise attacks and recovery rather than massive damage output. Against heavy-hitting opponents, he's at a disadvantage since he can't trade blows at their level. But as a high-speed medic and agile warrior, he's invaluable in battle. Number 16, Oetsu Nimaya, the god of the sword and creator of all Zanpakuto. This guy's reputation alone makes him formidable. Imagine facing the dude who literally invented the weapons your enemies are wielding. His genius with swords goes beyond making them though. He's a master swordsman with a special, almost ridiculous precision and control. Oetsu's strength lies in his custom-crafted Zanpakuto, Sayafushi, which he wields with unmatched skill. Sayafushi's blade is so sharp and powerful that it can slice through virtually anything without getting dull. In fact, his precision with this blade allows him to dispatch opponents in mere moments, making him one of the most lethal warriors in Soul Society. Number 15, Senjumaru Shutara. But why do we place her higher than the rest of the Royal Guards? With the exception of Ichigo, of course. Well, you see, when pushed into a corner, the rest of the Royal Guards decided to sacrifice themselves in order to unlock her Bankai, meaning that she was probably the strongest among them. Her specialty now, creating and manipulating threads, which may sound mundane, until you realize she uses them to pull off insane feats of power and precision. She can create vast, intricate webs in seconds, ensnaring her opponents and making it impossible to escape her traps. Senjumaru's threads aren't just for tying up foes though. She uses them to control and operate multiple puppet-like figures that serve as decoys, effectively allowing her to battle with an army of herself. And here's where it gets scary. She can manipulate her threads to perform stealth kills, strategic movements, and overwhelming attacks all at once. Number 14, Kisuke Urahara. Now this guy was the honored one before Gojo was even a thing. If Bleach had an award for most unexpected power-ups, Urahara would win every time. Known for his intelligence and inventiveness, Urahara's strength lies not only in his raw power, but also in his incredible ability to analyze and adapt to any situation. His Zanpakuto, Benihime, has a wide range of abilities, from offensive attacks like Shibari Benihime to defensive techniques like Kakushi Benihime. Plus, his Bankai allows him to restructure anything it touches, from enemies to his own wounds. Imagine getting healed mid-battle while your opponent's body is falling apart. Urahara's Bankai is the ultimate strategic weapon, but hear me out. Urahara's strength is primarily in his mind. His Bankai requires setup, and he lacks the raw, explosive power of some higher-ranking fighters. He's a master strategist and support, but in terms of direct destructive power, he's not quite at the very top. That said, with his tactical mind and versatile powers, Urahara is one of Soul Society's most dangerous assets. Number 13, Askin Naklevar. Known as the Death Dealing, Askin's power is all about tolerance. He manipulates the lethal dose of any substance, including spiritual energy, in his body and his opponents. That means he can adjust his body to resist attacks that would obliterate anyone else. Just imagine trying to take him down, only for him to shrug off your best attacks with a smirk. Askin's true strength, though, is in his adaptability. He can instantly analyze and counter any spiritual-based attack, creating lethal doses of spiritual energy that he then hurls at his opponents. This ability makes him a nightmare for anyone relying on Reiatsu-based attacks. Number 12, Ishida Uryu. In terms of raw potential and skill, he is not one to overlook. Uryu's power comes from his mastery of Quincy techniques, but with the shrift he gains from Yhwach Antithesis, he gets a further massive boost. Even before using it, he was able to fight and match Ichigo's power, even though, yeah, Ichigo was not going all out. But back to his shrift, Antithesis allows Uryu to reverse any injury or situation between himself and an opponent. Imagine getting seriously injured only for Uryu to flip the injury onto you instead. Brutal, right? However, Uryu's power isn't always straightforward. Antithesis has limits, particularly in its application during fast-paced, high-stakes battles. Uryu's greatest strength is his intellect and strategic planning. With his versatility, quick thinking, and Quincy powers, Uryu remains one of the strongest fighters on the field. And now, it's time to discuss the second controversial ranking in today's video. Who do you think is stronger, Shunsui or Zaraki Kenpachi? Now that's a tough one, but here's what I think. Feel free to let us know what you think in the comments down below, of course, in case you disagree with our selection. Number 11, Shunsui Kyoraku. Hear me out. Shunsui is a master of deception and creativity, using his Zanpakuto, Katen Kyokutsu, to play deadly games with his enemies. Each game forces both him and his opponent to follow strange rules that could range from color-based attacks to shadow manipulation. And when Shunsui goes Bankai, well, things get terrifyingly grim. His Bankai is essentially a 4-act tragedy, bringing despair, disease, and ultimately a devastating shared fate attack that binds him and his opponent together in suffering. His Bankai is not just an attack, it's a theatrical nightmare that leaves no room for hope. But again, stay with me on this one. Shunsui's Bankai actually comes with a risk. powers. The shared fate aspect can backfire if he miscalculates, making it dangerous to use against overwhelmingly powerful foes. Despite this, Shunsui's mind games and mastery over Katen Kyokutsu make him one of the most formidable captains in Soul Society's history. Number 10, Kenpachi Zaraki, the berserker of Soul Society. If raw strength were all that mattered, Kenpachi would easily rank higher. This guy's entire existence is about breaking his limits, and he's constantly seeking stronger opponents. His Zenpakuto, Nozarashi, amplifies his already monstrous power, allowing him to slice through almost anything, from mountains to entire dimensions. Kenpachi's Bankai takes things even further. In this form, he transforms into a wild beast with an aura of pure destructive energy. He's a walking apocalypse, and his overwhelming power can flatten almost any opponent he faces. But here's the catch. Kenpachi's approach is pure brute force. He lacks the precision, strategy, and adaptability of others on this list. Against foes with complex or mind-bending abilities, he can be at a disadvantage. Still, his raw power is unmatched, making him one of Soul Society's most terrifying forces. Number 9, Lil Barrow. His ability, the X-axis, lets him shoot through anything and everything, including space itself. He's a marksman of the highest caliber, and his shots ignore physical barriers, making him one of the hardest enemies to counter. When Lil activates his Vollständig now, he gains wings and a halo, becoming almost untouchable. In this form, he's no longer restricted by a single shot at a time. He can unleash beams that obliterate anything in their path. Lil's major downside, though, is that his power isn't perfect in close combat. His defenses can be bypassed if you're fast and close enough, and while he's nearly invincible, he's not untouchable. Still, as far as ranged fighters go, Lil's a god-tier opponent, making him deserve a spot in the top 10. Number 8, Gerard Valkyrie. Gerard's ability revolves around his Shrift, the miracle, which lets him transform any damage he takes into strength. The more he's beaten, the stronger he gets. His body regenerates and enlarges after every hit, and soon enough, he's towering over the battlefield like a literal god of war. In battle, Gerard wields Hoffnung, a massive sword that reflects the strength of his belief. Hope-based power might sound a bit fluffy, but Hoffnung actually unleashes colossal energy, capable of obliterating entire landscapes with a single swing. And with his second form, he takes on the physical characteristics of an actual Norse god, giving him power and stamina beyond belief. Now, Gerard's biggest drawback is, ironically, his greatest strength. Because he relies on taking hits to grow stronger, if he's up against someone who can bypass his durability entirely, he's in trouble. But put him in a direct fight with brute force tactics, and Gerard becomes almost unstoppable. With his growing power, towering strength, and relentless nature, Gerard stands among the highest ranking Quincy's, and at the same time, among the strongest characters in the entire Bleach universe. Number 7, Yhwach Hushvalt. Hushvalt's power, the balance, is as poetic as it is deadly. It allows him to balance fortune and misfortune, redirecting bad luck from himself onto his opponents. So if you think you've got a lucky shot, Hushvalt's power turns it into a catastrophe for you instead. But Hushvalt isn't just a good luck, bad luck dealer. He's also a master strategist, which makes him all the more dangerous. His swordsmanship is flawless, and his calm, analytical mind makes him nearly impossible to outmaneuver. He's known to yield Yuaba's powers at night, making him the only person truly trusted with Yuaba's strength in his absence. In a one-on-one duel of skill and wit, Yhwach Hushvalt's balance ability and keen intellect put him leagues above most. And now, we head on to the third highly debatable ranking in today's video. Who do you think is stronger, Ichibe or Prime Yamamoto? Highly speculative as well, but let's present how we see it. Number 6, Ichibe Hyosube. Ichibe's powers are, let's just say, unique. His Zenpakuto, Ichimonji, controls the very concept of names. In practical terms, this means he can weaken, control, or even erase someone's power by manipulating their name. If he writes a new name on his opponent, they take on the properties of whatever he chooses, giving him an insane level of control over reality itself. His Benkai, Shirafude Ichimonji, takes this to a whole new level, allowing him to give any object or being a completely new nature. It's a concept-based power, meaning he can rewrite the abilities or weaknesses of his enemies, turning any confrontation into a battle of wits and precision. With his ancient knowledge, creative tactics, and conceptual power over names, Ichibe's versatility and control put him at the pinnacle of Soul Society strength. Number 5, Shigekuni Genryusai Yamamoto. Okay, let's explain why we rank Yamamoto higher than Ichibe. First of all, we should point out we are considering his prime form, meaning faster, stronger, having both arms, and even being more ruthless, as stated by Yuaba himself. Even though Ichibe fought against a stronger version of Yuaba and would have won without his almighty, do not forget that not only did Yamamoto beat Yuaba in battle in the past, he also kinda defeated his clone with relative ease. And that was not even Yamamoto's prime, nor he had both hands. If Yhwach had not stolen Yamamoto's Bankai, he could maybe win against Yhwach, even in that current state he was. If sheer intensity and aura had a face, it would be his. Yamamoto's Zanpakuto, Ryujin Jaka, is the oldest and most powerful flame-based weapon in Soul Society, with heat capable of turning an entire battlefield to ash. His Shikai alone is terrifying enough, creating flames so intense they can incinerate anything in its path. When Yamamoto unleashes his Benkai, Zanka no Tachi,
Bankai. Zanka no touch.
he becomes a literal inferno. Each swing reduces his opponents to nothing, and his sword's heat can reach temperatures that rival the court of the sun. His Benkai also has 4 stages, each representing a different aspect of flames: east, west, south, and north, giving him control over life, death, and resurrection through fire. Zanka no Tachi essentially embodies the destructive power of the sun itself. But here's the thing, Yamamoto's power is so intense that it even harms him. Prolonged use of his Benkai could theoretically kill him, and his raw power lacks the adaptability of other abilities on this list. Still, as far as sheer strength goes, Yamamoto's power stands in a league of its own, cementing him as one of the all-time strongest Soul Reapers. And now, for the final debatable selection in today's video. Who do you think is stronger, Ichigo or Aizen? Well, here's what we believe. Number 4, Ichigo Kurosaki. You see, Ichigo is the original hybrid powerhouse. His strength comes from his combination of Shinigami, Hollow, and Quincy abilities, each layer adding a unique twist to his powers. His Zanpakuto Zangetsu is a dual blade representing his mixed heritage, allowing him to harness both Shinigami and Quincy tendencies. Ichigo's strongest move, Getsuga Tensho, releases a high-density energy blast that's devastatingly effective. In his final form against Aizen, Ichigo unlocks Mugetsu, a one-use only technique that unleashes powers so immense it nearly cost him his life. And with his Benkai, Tensa Zangetsu, Ichigo's speed and destructive power reach even higher limits, giving him versatility in both offense and defense. Plus, once Ichigo unlocks and uses his real Benkai, this puts him into a category that arguably is even higher than characters like Ichibei and Yamamoto. Number 3, Aizen Sasuke.
ようこそ私のソウルソサエティへ
Hear me out on this one. Aizen Zanpakuto is an absolute game changer, capable of complete hypnosis and sensory manipulation. Once you see his sword, Aizen can control every single one of your senses, creating illusions so real that even other top fighters can't break free. And yet, Aizen's power extends beyond just Gyoko Suigetsu. With his evolutionary transformations after fusing with the Hogyoku, he becomes an immortal being, making him almost impossible to kill. In his final form, he unlocks near divine powers, overwhelming his enemies with ease. And with his intellect, Aizen's always several steps ahead, making him the ultimate puppet master. Only he, with the help of Ichigo, could manage to defeat Yhwach in his final godlike form. Number 2, Yhwach. With the Almighty, Yhwach's power lets him see and manipulate all possible futures, making it nearly impossible to surprise or defeat him. Before he had this ability, he was already close to prime Yamamoto's strength. When using the Almighty now, this ability allows him to rewrite reality to ensure his victory, nullifying any potential attack or strategy against him. On top of that, Yhwach possesses the power of the Soul King, giving him the abilities of countless other Quincies, and he can steal and redistribute their powers at will. In battle, Yhwach is an unstoppable force, combining unparalleled foresight with devastating strength, regeneration, spiritual energy, knowledge, and countless highly powerful techniques. Number 1, Prime Soul King. You see, the Soul King exists in a transcendent state, essentially holding the entire structure of existence together. In his prime, he was a being of absolute control, capable of manipulating all realms, Soul Society, Hueco Mundo, and the world of the living. The Soul King's true abilities are largely unknown, but he is revered as a being of near omnipotent power. It's implied he can manipulate every fundamental force of nature, including life, death, time, and space. This immense power is so dangerous that he was sealed to prevent him from tearing apart the fabric of reality. In his prime, the Soul King is essentially a god. He's the ultimate balance between realms, the source of all creation and destruction. And while his sealed form is defenseless, his full potential remains an incomprehensible force, making him the undeniable strongest in Bleach. I mean, just his limbs are powerful enough to be considered in the top 20 strongest characters in Bleach. So yeah, if he was in his prime, no one would really be able to come close to him. Click on this video next, where we create the strongest character in Bleach's history. Go on, check it out!